Today, we're not on Rogers here, so you can still have some news. This is ChillPoint.
We, however, cannot buy anything at the store with our debit cards.
No, because as we are learning, Interac is the Interac service is directly tied to Rogers for some reason. Probably because maybe all of their servers in their clearinghouse are only provided with Rogers Internet, which means they can't do any of that stuff.
Yep.
That's the guess.
So yeah, it's one of those interesting things where like there's been a couple times over the years when like either Amazon AWS or Cloudflare like goes down,
a couple of times.
and then you realize how much of the internet's infrastructure is based on these like random little not little but these random companies that it's like, oh, turns out that that's actually really bad.
Yeah, but don't worry, the Minister of Telecom's collusion has definitely said, hey Rogers, you need to get this back up and we're going to monitor this situation, so they've done everything they can.
You know what also needs an upgrade, though? The grocery stores, they use an intercom system, because when I went to one on the way to work, they were repetitively doing the announcement that their debit was down, so that if you came to the thing, which, you know, is a fine tactic, but what you got was, and I'm like,
Christ.
Oh my goodness.
I wonder if that's one of those things where I'm yelling into the microphone.
I mean, sometimes it is people are talking way too close to the phone, but it is a phone, so you
hold it like a phone.
I feel like they can make that work better.
In the year 2022, we have the technology for making loudspeakers that are audible.
Like, I worked at a Walmart, and every time someone was like, can you just make an announcement over the intercom about thing? I'm like, it's not going to do it, but I'd do it.
If you do live in Canada and you were planning on buying things today, credit card transactions do work, apparently, because those don't go to the Interac office. They go to wherever they have to go to clear.
Yeah. I'm going to assume...
I mean, I haven't actually used Interac for, like, years.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah. I'm going to assume Interac is owned by Rogers somehow. So credit cards are all owned by Shaw, and then cash is owned by TELUS. So your cash will still work because TELUS is still taking it.
You forgot about Bell. What does Bell own?
Oh, Bell doesn't actually own anything. They just use everybody else's
CTV
stuff.
News.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to ChillPoint, the show where we talk about video game news, not Canadian telecom news, although you'll be forgiven for being confused as to what we talk about. But yes, this is, we talk about video game news. And actually, as a quick thing, if you didn't see the message on Twitter, we talked about, we took June off of doing the regular CheckPoint show.
We also didn't do it yesterday.
And we're coming back in July, but not yesterday, July.
It's still July. We're still not wrong.
But just various things have to be worked out. But we intend to be back in the very near future doing regular episodes of CheckPoint.
This is your reassurance minute that the thing that you like is not going away. We promise. We super promise.
Yeah.
Pinky swear promise that you get it back at some point this month.
Yeah.
Is the plan.
That is the plan.
I've been on the internet. It seems like people need a lot of reassurance that things will be okay. Now you know this thing will be okay.
That's our plan. Obviously, plans can change, but that's our plan. We know we have a thing for how it works. All right. But let's talk about things that happened in the video game world this week, because there's a few things that happened.
Some stuff. I hear there was things that accumulated in your like news feed of gaming news. Doings
transpired.
Yeah.
I mean, there was this thing about the that just came out, I guess, yesterday. About
Yeah, I think it might
fancy
be.
new Lego, and you know we're suckers for like new cool Lego set. So you want to see some Bowser,
So
it's like, oh cool, that's a Bowser Lego thing. Check out this with like a person. You can see how big it is.
It's actually quite large.
That is a chunky boy.
It is. So we've had the Nintendo Entertainment System with the TV, the Mystery Cube block, and now Bowser.
And this also ties in with the like Mario and Luigi and Princess ones, doesn't it?
I have
Or
no
is this
idea.
a different thing?
This one is rated 18 plus because of the difficulty on it, so I don't know that it is.
Yes. This is part of the Lego adult line,
Yeah.
which is hilarious.
Well, you laugh, but that Nintendo Entertainment System was also for adults, and it is based on a toy,
And
and it is a toy.
he can shoot fireballs.
I mean, he should be able to.
I
I expect some actual pyrotechnics with this thing.
He's like posable.
And like they showed a guy in the trailer like walking him around with his hands, and like so he's puppetable in a way. You can kind of like grab all the little bits and like move them a bit, and it's like that's
He kind of.
yeah. He kind of shuffles.
Not like
yeah.
you're moving an action figure.
Yeah, you don't put your
It's got a
hand in the
little bit of-
background. It's yeah.
Right.
Also, by the way, because the current CEO of Nintendo America,
Ah yes,
Doug Bowser,
right.
it makes this little press copy from the senior designer of Lego Super Mario much funnier. Bowser is, quite simply, the ultimate boss.
Do you think he has like a bunch of Bowser figurines in his office?
Oh, he does.
Yeah.
We've seen them. Like, he's tweeted about
So
it.
do you think he's gonna put together this Lego set?
I hope they film him doing it.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah. Bowser is quite simply the ultimate boss, and we're delighted to announce that we're introducing this oversized version of the Lego Super Mario adult line for added peril. But yeah, if I was Doug Bowser, I would like basically like cut out all the like thing like quotes from people about how awesome Bowser is.
Yeah,
and just like
absolutely.
put them on my wall.
Yeah, I do like adding Lego Super Mario: The Mighty Bowser. Really is a blast from the past, and I'm just thinking, does Doug walk around the office calling himself the Mighty Bowser? Does he pay other people to do that?
Probably.
Does he pay people to not do it because it's driving him nuts?
Oh, maybe I could see that.
Because
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe it's like if he's like, you know, people are like, "Hey Bowser, where's your shell?"
Like-
Maybe he's actually getting annoyed with it now.
if I worked there, if I was a Red Badger and I was walking down the hallway or I was sitting at Cafe Mario or some shit and I saw him pass the table, I'd be like, "What's up, King Koopa?" You know, like I would not give a shit whatsoever.
and then like as he leaves, he'd be like, "So long, Bowser."
So long, King Bowser.
Yeah, I mean, I do think the Lego sets are really cool. I have the Nintendo one, which I still have not finished, but I think I'm fine. I think I'm safe from having to purchase any of these things until they stop doing Mario ones and start doing Zelda ones.
I'm gonna wait until they go on like the 30% discount.
Yeah, I mean, this is
Player's
I
choice.
don't think you're gonna find a Player's Choice version of these.
No.
I just would really like to see them do some Zelda Lego
Yeah, that'd be nice.
overall.
I agree.
It's a franchise I'm more interested in than the Mario
Now-
stuff.
This one is 2,807 pieces. So probably outside the scope of like Desert Bus,
Yeah.
Keep Talking, and
Have you
Yeah.
Lego
seen what the
Bricksplodes or
what
whatever.
the-
Because we had barely managed to finish an 800 piecer, and that was a lot of work.
But have you seen what the instruction manual for an 18 plus Lego set is like?
No.
It's
Is it like photocopied?
it's more like here's two pictures. Find the differences. and I think you would find that would actually be really hard
Oh my god.
compared to some of the instruction sets we've
Oh,
done.
now I kind of want you.
on
Now I
Desert
kind of
Bus.
want you to do, like where so it's like way more minimal instructions.
See, I want a Mega Constructs Zelda set. Like people are mentioning Clocktown. I'm like, yeah, I want Termina, and I want like the moon in the air, but it's like you build the moon, the back part of the moon out of all the Mega Construct stuff, and then just the front of the moon is just a half sphere with the face painted on. You just go clunk and you stick right on.
See, like Zelda's one thing, but the best Zelda getting a set.
Right.
Oh yeah, no.
I mean, first 4 figures has to make a Majora's Mask you can wear, which they won't do that.
Have they not done that?
I don't think so. No.
Oh, that seems like something they would
I mean,
have done.
they just made a Samus Aran helmet, but you can't put it on. And I'm like, Halo figured that out. If you're going to sell a Master Chief helmet as part of a collector's edition thing, then people have to be able to put it on, or else they're going to revolt.
Didn't they send an entire?
The Master Chief helmet was not wearable.
That's what I mean, right? You know, I guess I shouldn't say they figured it out. They heard back from their customers. You fucked up.
Speaking of Nintendo stuff, let's. Do you want a Do you want a Game Boy that's a different Game Boy?
I mean, kind of.
That's pretty cool.
To be honest,
this is the fact that this is another like custom made hack that somebody has done.
well, it looks like the bottom of a
3D.
DS.
3D printed stuff.
To be honest,
Yeah.
and I'm. Look,
And
I like the Game Boy. I especially loved
And
the
it's a
Game
real
Boy Color.
It's
but
a real Game Boy with like that's been hacked with like a TFT screen, like with the fancy screen and
Yeah.
all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. But
Yeah,
real mechanic.
But you remember holding that square like this?
yeah.
I much prefer holding it like this.
You think is
I
that's
kind
a
of-
better like ergonomic shape?
Yes, that's why the Game Boy Advance is a superior shape.
I mean, with the weight all down low, with the batteries in your hands, that was a lot heavier, right? So it's like having the weight in your hands and having the little bit up above shouldn't actually make much of a difference.
Like
but
I would have much preferred this form factor over the original Game Boy.
I love that
form
it's
factor.
I like this, and and it's weird to me because I'm like, it feels very alternate universe timeline. Like it's like
yeah.
I
mean-
want it, but it's.
I think that was the intention. It was
Yeah.
to have it just be like
the still image looks like that screen is a sticker,
yeah, there's that too.
but
I also appreciate. I'm pretty sure he redid the like dot matrix with stereo sound
Yeah.
little thing on the.
I mean, look, if you're gonna mod, go hard.
That I mean,
Right.
the mod rebuild we did of the Game Boy Advance with the IPS screen in it is just that is top notch. Like I'm like when we played that a little bit, I'm like, this is very fun. Like holy crap, I like this a lot. So yeah,
I'll remind you that is a Tinker Tailor Soldier Fry episode.
yeah, you can watch me and Ian take this thing apart, and then watch Ian have to do the soldering because I realized that I can't see in 3D enough to aim properly with a soldering iron.
Yeah, I understand you you play life a little bit on a harder mode that I do not.
It didn't
envy.
occur to me
Yeah.
until I started doing it. And I say, Ian, you have to. I'm sorry, I want to do this, but you have to because I think I'm going to hit the wrong thing because I can't tell how far away I am.
That was a very successful
It
Tinker
was.
Tailor
Yeah.
It's very
expedition.
Pretty.
Yeah.
I really do like that
Actually,
one.
speaking of which, last night we Ian's modding of his or re-unbuttoning his
Oh, his Thrustmaster?
his Thrustmaster wheel. It took a little. It was taking a little longer than than he was hoping for. So he didn't get as much done as he wanted. But the part he did get done was totally successful. So it's always there's that like. It's so especially when you're like especially building hardware stuff.
Right.
It's so gratifying to like be like you're doing all these little teeny things and welding or and soldering stuff and putting little connectors together and all this stuff and get all the things plugged in and plug it into USB and do all this stuff and then you hit the thing and then the light on the in like Windows controller manager blinks.
Yeah.
It's like. It works first time exactly the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, that's the important part. It works first time.
TTSF is such a hard show to plan for, I think, because it's like, here's this much time. How far do you think you can get in your project? And you're just like, I hope
and it's-
fast enough.
And there's one of the things we talked about is that if you were watching like a YouTube video that was like how to mod your Thrustmaster controller to put the buttons on or
Right.
put buttons on it or whatever, it would be like do this, do this, do this, and then attach these cables into here.
And then a miracle happens.
Well, no, but it's just like attach these cables into here. That step,
Yes.
attach these cables into here, involves like putting these little connector things onto the cables, putting a bunch of connector things onto the cables, which we discovered in the course of the thing, are using a very slightly different standard. Like one's on an imperial standard and one's on a metric standard, so they're off by like single-digit percentage points.
So the connectors don't quite grab.
So the connector is like a little bit tight when you put it in.
Yeah.
And stuff. But it's like that just would have been cut in like a YouTube video tutorial. It would just be like, connect these two things.
Yeah.
But that's like an hour's worth of work.
The thing you don't see in an edited version of what that kind of video would be is also that didn't work, and the take back steps
Yeah.
and the redoing and then
But
the thing.
I think that's
as
valuable
well.
though. Like if you
When
you're
people should see the struggle.
like and when you're and like when you do it yourself, you might kind of beat yourself up that it's like, oh man, I've been working on this thing all day and I haven't made any progress.
Exactly.
Whereas the YouTube guy did it in 10 minutes.
Right.
But that's not a real.
So much more gratifying.
Yeah.
Like when you're trying to do a thing and you find that video where you see somebody actually doing it. It takes a long time. Maybe you scrub through the video, but it's so much more gratifying to see somebody also having a hard time doing a thing where you're like, oh, okay, good. It's not just me.
Right.
What was the name of that mod actually? What were they calling it? The Game Boy Wide? Because I'm guessing it's a one and done. It's like the person who did it is like, I'm not selling these cases. I just wanted to do a thing.
Yeah. What? Yeah, I don't know what he's.
Also, it's thick.
Well, yeah, but so is the Game Boy.
Yeah, no, this seems thicker. Like the picture of it looks a lot thicker. You have to put. You're gonna have to if you're gonna put your batteries in there. Like if you're gonna do it like
your like minimum thickness of like a AA battery, right?
Yeah, but then you also have to have like the space for the cartridge slot and everything else. It's like, so if you do what the Game Gear did, which is when they split the batteries to like either side, you could do that. Or if they're doing it with like just a lithium-ion battery that goes inside, which is probably what you would do if you're doing this much modding.
Yeah, I don't know. He doesn't seem to have a name on it.
Give it a name. Okay.
Like I think
The video
rechargeable
is
batteries.
called "This Game Boy is like no other."
Rechargeable lithium batteries are really cool, but sometime in the future, when nobody makes a battery that functions and isn't that size for you anymore,
Yeah.
those AA's in that old Game Boy are still going to work.
Absolutely, they are.
Well, speaking of something that people often have trouble with, so if you recall, there was a meme a few months ago, I guess at this point, for Elden Ring. Let me solo her.
Yes.
So the story behind this was some guy was, Elden Ring has this invasion thing, and also this like, so people
you can call for
you can call for help in certain circumstances, and people can invade your stuff. And one of the big circumstances where you can call for help is like boss fights and things. And so there's this story started spreading of this guy who called for help for a particular boss, and the person that came in was named "Let Me Solo Her," and he was like, "Okay."
Yeah,
And
he's like wearing basically no equipment as
Yeah.
well, and
He has an onion pot on his head or
yeah.
something, and he has a giant ass sword.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he and so the person telling it was like, I just kind of stepped to the side, and the guy does like a flawless attack on this boss. Like,
Yes.
And so this guy, other people started telling stories about that this guy has been like going around fighting this one particular boss.
And it's like being part of the legend, right?
Yeah. Millennia.
Millennia?
Malenia.
I don't know. Been,
No, Millennia. Yeah, you're
Millennia.
right. Millennia.
I never chose to go
Millennia.
maidenless, so I don't think I ever found out.
So anyway, he just recently, or in May, did his 1,000th kill of this boss.
So many times.
This is Klein Tsuboi. Tsuboi
Yeah.
is the one who's the person behind the account. So anyway, in celebration of this milestone and also just the general meminess of it. Bandai Namco and Elden Ring sent this guy a care package of a bunch of Elden Ring themed items, a wooden portrait of Millennia.
Okay.
So it's like a cut. Here, let me open
It's
up
like
the thing.
a woodcut or like a wood burned thing or like laser burned
No, it's like a
marquetry.
yeah.
Ooh, neat.
Yeah, so it's a super fancy.
Very nice.
And then he also
Cloak.
cloak. Congratulations.
With a
It's
drawing
just
of the-
We noticed you had no clothes. Have this cloak.
And a real ass sword
Yeah.
that says "Rise" tarnished on it.
Yeah, on the blade.
So yeah, I appreciate the big companies trying to get in on memes can often not work out so well. But
We should definitely talk about that next.
I appreciate I appreciate this.
This I don't think is a company so much getting in on a meme so much as like showing some gratitude and getting
Yeah.
in on a fun thing.
Like
that
2K
is
did
cool.
that with Firaxis did that with in the original XCOM when somebody whoever it was who was the first one to actually finish Impossible Iron Man on XCOM.
Right.
So they did a thing where they were like, here's a plaque or whatever we're giving you to commemorate the fact that you did this. So congratulations, which I like. That's really cool. Like it's fun when they acknowledge that it's like you put in the effort and you did the thing. So.
Or you could take the Bungie system,
Which is
for Destiny, which is congratulations, you just did this really difficult raid. You now are given the permission to buy this piece of merchandise.
Yeah, at an actual price as opposed to $770,000 or whatever they had it listed
Yeah.
at. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's always really weird, but
So there was maybe you know more about this story than just
hang on. No, we need a proper segue here, Paul. Speaking of companies leaning into the meme,
yeah,
Doing it poorly.
Speaking of companies, and we talked about this story last week.
I believe so.
Yes. So yeah, what's the
if
info
you're not
about
aware, EA is a gaming company that many people think very highly of. That's very sarcastic.
this? Yeah.
yeah,
They made a tweet saying they're a 10, but they only like playing single-player games. Now, this is based on a meme that's going around that's they're a 10, but
Right. So it's like this person.
here's the thing that makes them flawed.
It's like this person's really attractive, but yeah.
This person's a 10, but their knees are double jointed.
I mean,
I don't know.
My lower third for this would have been they're a 10, but they're shit at Twitter.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
that would
like
have been good.
that would have been my clap back for that. But anyway,
Yeah. So EA made their tweet trying to get in on the joke. A lot of people like single-player games, and EA also makes a number of single-player games.
yeah, they pay
and-
people to make single player
and
games.
so it's kind of like that's the
Yeah,
direction you went
there's a bunch
with
of
it.
games that are like currently in development that people are really excited about that are single player games.
So funny thing is the ensuing conversations that happened within EA,
Yeah, that's my favorite part of this story.
because a lot of guys who were part of studios in EA were already clapping back at EA on Twitter, being like the kind of like, "Hey, go fuck yourself" kind of idea. Like,
I make a single-player game, yeah.
I make one for you as part of a thing, or like, "Hey, forgot about this," and put up a picture of the game that they're making for them. But
Yeah.
the internal conversations were amazing.
So apparently, they the tweet got made. Havoc hit on the internet, and internally, they were like, "We have to talk about this
There was a Slack meltdown.
now because this is not a thing we want." And
Slack
they
down.
they had like a big discussion about like what should we do now that this mess has occurred, and one option that they actually didn't go with.
The initial idea, yeah.
Was to get all the studios to beg on EA.
Yeah.
Even harder.
To bag on corporate, to lean in and be like, no, get everybody in there to just totally roast us.
And that'll fix it.
To just try to be like, haha, we're in on the joke too.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is doing a meme poorly and then trying to do it again poorly.
And so part of the article does say that some staff point out that this strategy would just reinforce the narrative online that EA's own studios and teams hate the company. And I'm like, it sure would.
Yeah. So they ended up trying to roll it back with another tweet that
Being
was like,
we are roasted, we admit it, but hey, that's because people play single player games or 11s, and it's like, oh.
Yeah, so this is why I'm like, maybe quote tweet your original tweet and just be like, you're right. That was not not, and just leave it at that.
Poorly played. We're sorry, everybody.
Yeah. So then this article also points out that the company that EA gets to make their social media is not part of their social media team.
So
They have
a third party.
They have another group of people that handles their
So EA
Twitter.
corporate has a social media team.
Well, probably. I mean, most people do.
But that has no connection to making tweets on the Twitter account.
That's what I read off of the.
Yeah.
So that's
thing.
actually
And-
not working at EA itself.
Yeah, they have to communicate everything they want to this third-party company.
and part of what they go into is like, oh, and the people there are new, and the people who work at this thing are not part of the gaming atmosphere, so they just didn't know, so they were doing whatever. And like, you can throw all the spaghetti excuses at the wall you want, EA. You really should have just had them tweet, "We're sorry."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And learn from your experience and move on instead of trying to throw them all under the bus.
Yeah. If they're working under contract, that contract, when it runs out, they're going to be done. They're going to be like, we're not working with you anymore.
Yeah. Source says the staff running the Twitter account are, quote, all new, and most of them aren't really game industry people, and likely had no idea about EA's long bad history with single player games. It seems, and this is the Kotaku article. It says it seems wild that the official Twitter account for one of the largest video game publishers in the world isn't run by people who have working knowledge of the video games industry. But then again, when do large corporations make logical decisions?
It's true.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume that you would have a PR team, and within your PR team, you would actually have your social media team, because that's like those are very interconnected these days.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like your PR has to be on Twitter and TikTok, Instagram.
I mean, as somebody in the comments is like, if your PR social media team isn't the people doing the tweeting,
Yeah.
what are they doing?
Yeah.
Like that's where your PR and social media happens these days.
Yeah. It does feel, I mean, it's very much an idea of, as Gatfiller points out, somebody is getting thrown under the bus, obviously, and having this kind of separation is like, we can just throw these guys under the bus and they'll be fine. Because I'm like, if the job of the company, the third-party company, is to basically, here's our strategy, please tweet within the confines of this strategy, and there's no creative action being done by them, then it would all come back to EA's social media team being the ones saying, we're the ones who came up with that idea.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine that if you have, let's say, Lure contracted out all of our tweets to another group, so we didn't really do that. We maybe told them, hey, we have this coming, we have this stuff coming. Please, like, make sure you tweet about these things on these days or whatever. Your thing to find out if it's worth to have a company doing that would be based on, are their tweets generating interest, getting views, getting retweets, and whatnot, which means if they have an open thing and they're trying to hit certain thresholds of stuff, then of course they're going to get somebody trying to do memes.
Yeah. And and it's a tricky, like, it's a razor's edge, right? Like, and like, because when a company does pull off memes and stuff, various people say Arby's or there's been a couple companies.
Sonic the Hedgehog account.
Yeah, there's a couple companies that have been able to do it, but it's a real risky business.
Yeah.
And it's a dangerous game. It can turn on you at any moment.
I also just think that even if the people there had been new, even if it had been a social media team within EA, they could have just as likely made a tweet that bad.
I have I have two things to say about this too. Is that in the one case, we also don't know whether Wendy's social media team, Arby's social media team, all the ones that are kind of like doing their thing, doing pretty good, whether they're not using a third-party company because if third-party companies exist that their only job is to sit there and tweet to basically be like, hey, we're youth culture and we got a bunch of 18-year-olds that are fresh out of high school. Don't worry, pay them $50,000 a year and just give them access to your Twitter account and that'll drive engagement, like that kind of horseshit.
Yeah.
If that's what's going on, then I can believe that a bunch of stuffy ass people at these companies are being like, we don't know anything about how to run this TikTok shit, so hire this company, pay them $3 million a year, and let them go fucking nuts with it because they'll pay for whomever to get this stuff to come across. And I'm like, that's terrifying to me. The idea that it's like that's where some of these companies might be coming from. The second thing about that, though, too, I want to try to get this phrased right, is that why would you, if you're that kind of company and you're turning around being like, hey, we're hot shit at doing the Twitters and TikToks and all the Instagrams, hire us, EA, so we can do this. And EA's like, sure, here's $10 million to do this. And like, great. Hey, let's take the freshest people off the street and who don't know anything about this industry and get them to tweet. That will be a winning campaign, to put people who we just got paid $10 million, put the person who knows the least about how to work on this account.
I mean, the objective is always, with anything, the objective is you get the person who's willing to do it for the cheapest.
Yeah.
That still work.
I do think a person can pick up a lot of that stuff fairly quickly in terms of like learning certain things. I think really in this case, the biggest problem is they used a meme and a tweet that punches down.
There's that too. Yeah.
Well,
as a comedy, like as a comedic tweet. If especially if you're looking at a lot of like sarcastic things like Wendy's like shitting on people and like other things happening that are very funny in the way they do stuff, and you look at it and you're like, oh, that's great, but you've never done it. It's very easy to punch down instead of punching up.
Yeah.
Well, and even like it's like even the meme isn't necessarily bad, right?
No.
Like they could have if they had chosen, for the negative thing, for the flaw, if they had chosen something a little more, I guess, in brand.
She's a 10, but she likes playing FIFA.
Whatever.
People be like, what the hell's that supposed to mean?
Anyway. Speaking of big companies doing dumb things.
Oh yeah, this one's good too.
God of War Ragnarok is coming out in November.
Yeah, they finally gave God of War a subtitle again, so we don't have to give it a year.
And it, by all previews and everything, looks like it'll be super cool.
Okay.
It is also, as is the want for games like this, going to be having some cool collector's editions.
Okay.
This comes with a big hammer.
And in fact, it's got the super, what is it? Or so there's the $200 collector's edition and the $230 regalia edition that have a whole bunch of or
sashes.
No, they did
aprons.
Wait, no, maybe not regalia.
Okay,
regala.
Where are we looking?
Anyway,
no, that's regalia. Yeah.
So it's got a whole bunch of physical stuff. It's got art book. Yeah, a hammer.
Yeah. I don't know, there's something about like a really big, giant Thor-like hammer that's amazing to me.
Okay.
All sorts of cool stuff. Yeah, so vinyl record of the soundtrack.
Did we want to?
I was just concerned you're gonna be like vinyl record of Kratos saying "boy" over and over.
So you can see here, it's gonna have you got your Knowledge Keeper's Shrine, whatever that is.
You have to play the game to find out.
Like a box.
16-inch Milner replica.
Steelbook.
The
tiny little figurine things.
Now, if you notice, in little letters under Steelbook display case, no game disc included.
Oh, so it just doesn't come with the game.
So the $200 special edition has a Steelbook for the game disc.
Sure.
But does not include the game disc.
So it doesn't come with the game at all. Then.
This is a box.
No.
This is a loot box.
No, it does come with a download code for the game.
Oh, thank Christ.
No. I would rather it not come with any game at all.
It comes with a download code for the game.
Oh my God.
The only way to get the physical version of the game is to buy the regular $80 physical version of the game.
Oh my God.
Which there's no way to get the Steelbook and the physical version of the game in one purchase.
All right. So, first of all, I feel...
You have to buy the physical version with the regular case and then buy the special collector's edition with the download version to get the Steelbook.
You buy this version and play the digital version, and you just put a thing on Deku Deals to say, let me know when this thing drops below $50.
Sure, but okay, it's a collector's edition type deal thing.
Yeah.
People who buy collector's editions clearly want physical goods.
Yes.
So, I think the insulting part is that it comes with the game at all.
No, it's true. Games have done I think they're talking about here. Mass Effect did a thing called the Legendary Cash Bundle that was just the physical collectibles,
just the cool shit.
Yeah,
not the game.
Now I do think the Steelbook is better to come with a disc and maybe be its own separate thing, but sometimes when you just want the game and you want the collectibles, sometimes it would just be great if you could buy the collectible set and not bother having it attached to a game.
Right.
Yeah, because sometimes it is hard to come by some of that stuff.
You
feel like you're paying a lot for...
You can buy the game and then maybe get your hands on the collectible thing later and not worry about trying to get the collector stuff and whatever.
That's what eBay's for.
But the fact that it comes with a Steelbook and they're like, we'll just give you a digital code. I'm like, no, don't give me any digital code. I will go buy the game and put it in the disc box.
And it's just like,
sure.
Why not put the disc in? It's like, is the disc cost more to manufacture than Milner?
Will the disc even fit in that Steelbook, I wonder? Like, does it even have a space for the disc?
That would be funny.
That'd be so funny.
That would be even
It's just
more
the Steelbook with no actual stuff inside.
Or it's just a little bit too narrow in one direction. You can't take the standard case and just put it inside. Oh, warm my heart. Do stupid shit, please. Yes.
Anyway, so this is one of these things where it's like, a bunch of people are talking about this now instead of, and of course if you're a developer on God of War Ragnarok who've just spent the last couple of years working on it and is super proud of it, you're probably kind of annoyed that this is the conversation we're having now.
So so this is the Regalia edition.
The collector's edition. I don't know what the difference between the collector's and the Regalia edition is.
Okay, because I was going to say if it turns out that it's all of this stuff, it's and it includes a copy of the game, and it's so clearly they're looking at the MSRP as being you're buying all this stuff and a copy of the game, and so therefore we have to factor in the cost of the game. Maybe instead of 80, maybe we're pricing it at 60 or something like that instead, just because you're buying a lot of stuff. But it's if you look at how you're individually pricing this stuff out and paying for it, that's one thing. Because if you're if you bought all this stuff on its own, would it only be $180? And then you could buy the game on top of that.
I still think it might be very close to the price point that they're currently selling it at, regardless of whether it came with a digital game or not. But the way I see it is if I'm willing to spend a lot of money on a collector's thing, it's not going to bother me if I spend another $60 US dollars on just the base game to either buy as a disc to put in there, or maybe I just want the Steelbook to be the display thing and I have a digital PS5 or whatever this one shows up on, and I will buy the digital code myself.
So the fancy one we're looking at is the Jotnar edition. So there are editions above editions above editions.
Yes. This is the other thing about collectibles that get weird is there's 6 different versions potentially with collectible stuff, potentially just the game with slightly more DLC or something.
And it isn't. Yeah, it's when they start getting into collectors, when they start getting into multiple versions of a game that aren't just you pay more money and progressively get more stuff. Like that makes sense. But when they're like multiple, the Venn diagram of like what you get is like a complex like.
Yeah, and this is why I
there
would
are like
prefer
multiple different
collecting like things that are like, oh, here's all the stuff we would have put in the collector's edition that's physical whatever stuff, and like, cool, set that aside as its own purchase,
right,
and then
just,
anything that's digital I can go over here, and at least it makes some sense of between people who care about owning collector stuff and people who don't care and just want digital.
Okay.
Anyway,
but I do think it's insulting to put a digital copy of the game in the thing.
Oh.
Either don't put it in or put in a physical. That's weird.
Laserbeak's Fury points out you could trade this with somebody who owns a digital-only PS5, and I guess maybe that's why they're leaning on the side of this thing is a digital-only copy of the game, because we know we cover everybody who owns a PS5.
Again,
then
just don't put it in.
Yeah, just leave it out and let me buy this as a bonus pack.
Let me buy what I determine that I need.
Yeah.
But also, how many people do you know who own a PS5 other than Paul, who owns like 16?
Also, the tech exists to have the digital and the physical version, like both of them.
Yeah.
Without giving you two copies of the like. Either whichever one you register becomes the one, and then the other one doesn't work.
Yeah,
they could easily do that.
Give you one or the other through what you buy. Yeah.
Anyway, on the subject of this, I don't know. This could be. I think this is slightly controversial, but I think it seems like a good idea to me. Street Fighter 6 is on its way.
A lot of people have said Street Fighter 6 is a bigger number, yes?
Yep. And as well as being a bigger number, it also has wider characters.
I was going to say a good idea, but actually, that I think about it, I don't know if I've actually seen that many people say Street Fighter 6 is a good idea or not.
I mean, Cammy's looking good, so
they've added a couple inches of width onto most of the characters, from what I can gather. But anyway, one of the interesting things that they're adding to it is the modern control scheme.
Oh yes, I really like this.
Which is not actually a great description of it.
No.
Maybe, and I mean, maybe they want to avoid any sort of bias or whatever. But it might be better called like a simplified or streamlined control scheme.
Classic is 3 punch, 3 kick.
So 3 punch, but combo.
You know all
we're
the
talking
combos, right?
Combos is what we're talking about.
Oh.
Right? Do you know what combo you need to do?
So
of all the buttons?
circle, back for 2 seconds, forward and attack, circle,
Right.
half circle attack, blah blah blah, blah all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Which is like an integral part of fighting games, right?
Yeah, it's learning the special maneuvers and stuff.
But
yeah.
what if you didn't have to do it that way?
Yeah, and Street Fighter has had those same controls for a very, very long time.
Okay, yeah.
So but what they've done is this idea is this modern control. So obviously the old control scheme is still, is there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But this modern control scheme basically simplifies all your combos down to stuff like, push a direction, hit a button.
Like Smash Brothers.
I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because you can neutral B, you can up B, you can left B.
I would
right
just
B,
say that
down B.
Smash
So-
just doesn't have combos really beyond a couple of button things.
Right. But they are special moves, that if you
Yeah.
press B, it's one thing. If you press B and you push up, it's another thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So basically making it much so that the actual the actual like execution of the combo or whatever isn't the hard part.
Right.
So obviously there's an aspect of like, blah blah blah. Noobs can play the game now better than that it's making it too easy. But I think what's really interesting about this though is this idea of when you're talking about people who are really in the fighting game, like if you're talking about tournament fighter levels of people who are actually very high up in fighting thing, obviously the people you are competing against at that level can do all the combos. Like being able to do a combo reliably is not the thing that differentiates a high level player from a low level player. It's the actual knowing how to knowing all the stuff about when to do the combos, how to do things,
when to do your reaction times,
what reaction, how many frames each move has, when to do different things, all the different, how to react to what the opponent is doing, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And that's still there.
Yeah.
All this is doing is making it so that the actual physical execution of the combo is easier.
And
so when you keep saying combo, you mean special attack?
Yes.
Like doing a Hadouken?
Yes.
Right, okay.
I'm talking about the moves that aren't just punches.
Right, because when you kept saying combo, I was like, so you mean that if I do this, that it executes the series of moves?
Okay, yeah, sorry.
Sorry, I was getting confused because I'm like, I remember in
fancy moves.
In like Killer Instinct, they had a thing where it was like, if you go from this button to this button, that counts as a combo, and if you keep doing things like that, those count as combos, and you have to enter them the right way. I'm like,
okay.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Fancy moves.
Fancy moves.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that because you're doing what essentially could be an 8-button input in 2 buttons to get your combo,
right?
You limit the amount of special attacks that you can do. So if you pick this different method, you end up with less abilities overall, I think.
It's possible, yeah.
Like I think you set which ones you want,
because it would mean
which
that
means
that
that
you don't
like
have quite
if you're
quite many different options.
which means if you are fighting a person who is on like a classic set and you have like just your smaller set to work with, they have more moves in which to attack you with.
Yeah.
I thought that was my understanding of how that worked, and like your kind of like give and take.
Because I would imagine like if it's still your classic 3-punch 3-kick situation, that you have your 4 face buttons and your 2 wing buttons, but then I guess they also have 2 bumpers now too. So it's like you could just be like, I push forward and hit that bumper, then I execute spinning bird kick or whatever, right? Or I do my Hadouken or whatever by doing that. And it's like, sure, I still have my 3 punch buttons and I still have my 3 kick buttons.
Yeah.
But then I also have these extra buttons I can do to execute the special move, the special attack. So, I mean, it would be interesting if they were like, you can do this, but it does mean that more complicated things like, I don't know if they're doing like the V-attack stuff, the super specials, like whatever the other things that you can do. It's like, how do you execute those now?
Well, and it's also like a lot of the moves, a lot of a move, as you're saying with like combos and stuff. Like a lot of moves are several moves put together, right? Yeah. Which you're still having to do.
Yeah, you have to string that stuff.
But anyway, this article is talking about how at a base level, this so that you can get into a position, you can get a place where if there's one really experienced player and you want to play with a friend who doesn't play that well,
right,
or hasn't played this particular game that much,
right.
Or
is like your grandfather who can't do a quick 8-button input combo.
And it makes it so that you can actually play on kind of a, at least the actual physical being able to hit the buttons and doing the combos won't be the limiting factor, which is, I think, really cool.
I love that. I think that's a great idea. Yeah.
It's so they did something. I remember. I think it was like a Street Fighter 2-esque game on the 3DS that had this kind of thing where on the touch screen you could just push a touch screen button and it would do a thing, and people did not like that. Yeah. And personally, as playing it, that was not fun. But as a especially like as a person who does have okay reaction times and I could probably learn combos and execute them decently well. Having a beginner tool is good, but also having the accessibility option for people who really just want to play and have fun. Still feels like you're doing something. Yeah. I think it's a great idea.
And it's always
really looking forward to it.
It's like if you're a really advanced player of Street Fighter and you're mad about this, and this makes it so that you lose games. Yeah, maybe you weren't as good at the game as you thought you were.
And there's also
if people are beating you using this
So-
ability, then you
competitions generally have rule sets, so it'd be up to maybe them on whether or not they want everybody using a specific.
yeah.
Control
I'm
style.
assuming
Standard
they like in a competition environment they would probably make people use the
But
normal
also,
control style.
right? The idea of if you're in any competitive aspect, the rules obviously will come in to say you can do this or you can do that.
Yeah.
Right.
But the idea of if the simplified control scheme makes people more competitive and maybe makes them more competitive faster, but even people who are good, like if Sonic Fox sat down one day and was kind of like, hey, so now I'm just playing the simplified control scheme through Street Fighter and he's still dominating, then that's like anybody who's competing at that level, and it's like this is actually making it way easier for me to play the game, and I'm way faster executing special moves, and I'm doing better at da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, well, the ability to then just stand back and say, okay, well, then if everyone is competing on a higher level or a faster level or everything's becoming like this because of this new control scheme, then why would we limit ourselves to the old control scheme if the new one is actually being proved to be a much better way to have the game? And it's like, well, then that depends. Is it actually making things more competitive? Is it actually just making things is it a leveling the playing field kind of option at a competitive level, or is it screwing everything up in a way that's non-obvious? Because I'm like, I'm trying to think of the right way to describe this. That it's like if you play. God, is this the right analogy? If you play baseball in some baseball stadiums, I was watching one the other day, and I don't know if it was like Wrigley Field or where it was, but it's like if you hit a ball and it hits the fence, but it hits the fence at a certain height, that counts as a home run. But if it hits the wall at the fence, but past a yellow line, that actually just counts as an infield double. And it's like, we don't call that a home run. You definitely hit it, that if it was in any other park, it could have gone over the fence. But because it hit the wall and there's a yellow line painted there and it hit on this side, it's an infield double, and so you only get an infield double. And it's like, that's a rule that exists.
Sure.
Only at that park.
I don't know how this applies.
Because it's like, you can make the rules be whatever you want them to be.
Well, yes.
As long as everyone agrees to this is what the rules are going to be.
That's what I said, that competitions would maybe do that if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Say that you had to play on specific sets.
And there will be constant arguments about, should we be allowing that? Should we not be allowing that? Should that competition be allowed in this place? And
I don't know that there'll be that many arguments. I actually haven't heard anyone
say anything negative about
angry
this so far.
About this thing. And in fact, most people who've played these controls have been very happy. And when I've brought it up to people who I know who play fighting games, they're ecstatic at the idea that people might want to play fighting games with them because they can't find enough people who want to.
Fighting games are definitely like the epitome of the like. You play it and it's super fun, and then you get too good at it, and now nobody wants to play with you.
And then you have no one to play against until you can like go online or whatever.
I personally find that I don't pick up fighting games as fast as I pick up other games, and so if I'm sitting in the same 3-hour play session as some of my friends who I know will pick up that stuff faster because they play those games, or they play games that are more like that, or they can just catch on faster than I can, that within about an hour the game is no fun for me anymore because I can't keep up.
Right.
And I would have to put in extra work outside of that.
This
and maybe I don't want to.
Yeah.
And so the idea is that this doesn't necessarily raise the ceiling on an ability, but maybe raises the floor on ability.
Which is a great idea.
Levels the playing field.
Yeah. That feels pretty good. I like this idea too.
Speaking of
Can I have a drink?
game things
Where's
that
your water?
I forgot it.
are controversial, I guess.
Oh no. Controversy on the internet with the video games?
I know.
Whatever shall we do?
So, people are kind of annoyed about Diablo Immortal.
Yeah, they probably should be.
And
I haven't played it, but from what I've heard of it, they probably should be.
Is this a microtransaction related thing?
This is the mobile version.
it might be, yes.
Okay.
This is the mobile game.
I know what Diablo Immortal is. I'm just wondering, is the controversy mired in microtransactions?
Yes.
Okay.
There's literally no other reason to talk about Diablo Immortal.
Great. Okay.
Yeah, we've proven everybody has phones, so we're past that one.
Lay it on me, Paul.
So yeah, Diablo Immortal kind of sucks in terms of microtransactions, which is unfortunate because apparently it's kind of a good game. Once you get into the Immortals, until you get into the heavy microtransactions
the
part.
mechanic gameplay loop is supposed to be quite fun.
Yeah. But this is the problem. So we get now into the problem of, the whatever capitalist, whatever you want to call it, thing of like, pretty universal Diablo Immortal, not good because of these damn microtransactions. One of the worst microtransactions things. Horrible reactions,
This is the narrative.
on the internet.
The conventional wisdom.
Yeah. Diablo Immortal also apparently making somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 million a day on microtransactions.
It's because they're incredibly predatory.
It has hit 10 million installs after a week.
Sure, free to play game.
Diablo 3 took about 6 months.
Yeah, that game cost
which cost $60.
$60, I'm assuming. And your install base. Are we talking the PC version, or are we talking just like?
This is all mobile. This is mobile.
So your
install base is much.
Your install base is bigger.
And this is free to install.
Yeah, it's free.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, those are just your factors as to why your number might be bigger in one thing over another, right? Price and install base.
But right. But again, you're Blizzard, and you're like, we spent X amount of dollars making Diablo 3. This is our payoff. We spent X amount of dollars making Diablo Immortal. This is our payoff. Where should we put our development dollars into in the future? It's kind of hard to be the person on the other side of that argument.
No, we live in a capitalist society, and this is all we can do.
Not 10 million installs are paying $1 million a day. Okay, so that means in 10 days, everyone's paid at least $1 in that 10-day period.
In 10 days,
estimated average $5 per download.
Right.
In 10 days, I'm willing to bet maybe 20% of those people actually put in more money than you think.
Yeah, sure.
Because there's going to be the people who stop playing immediately, and there's going to be the people who can actually resist microtransactions. There's
a real, the video game industry is an industry.
I know.
And it's just kind of a weird, sick feeling to feel like it's like, oh no, every time this happens, like Fire Emblem Heroes happened, right? Like every time this happens, you're like, oh no. This is it. This is
all they're ever gonna make.
This
is
the
again.
Other nail. Like every nail in the coffin is just.
Because the idea that it's like the idea that the only impetus to make good video games is like, basically like charity or sort of altruism.
Yeah.
That it's like, sure, we could. Make this other thing and make $1 million a day, but we want to be a good company, so we're going to do this. It's like I don't like that. I obviously I want companies to want to try to be good companies, but I don't want that to be the reason. Like I wanted, it would be nice if that wasn't the reason that they could actually have like a economic reason to make good video games.
Yeah, it's just terrifying that it's like I feel like the more we talk about this, the more instances that this comes up, the more I start to feel like, oh God, in 20 years is that gonna be it? Are we gonna have seen this happen so slowly that eventually we get to a point where it's like,
all right,
it's all video games for rent, and you have to, every game you want to play you have to rent to play.
All right, industry wise, as a company, if I can get you to buy a download game, or I can get you to play a free-to-play game and get you to buy a bunch of microtransactions, and I have kind of a live service game going on.
Yeah.
So I never have to try to make the install base bigger, or I never have to go through the process of stamping discs and having to incur that cost.
Yeah.
yes, that's going to be a thing. But we lived through Farmville, and that didn't happen.
Sure. No, it's true. But I think that's because we're going to be a weird thing to say. I think it's because
Choose your words wisely.
this generation grew up with the idea of I pay $50 for a game, I play a game. Whether I'm good at it or not, I play a game. I own that game.
I mean, I think there's always
right?
There's always going to be a range of video games.
I agree too.
We hit a space already.
I feel like it's going to get smaller and smaller, though, that space.
When games were starting to hit mobile that were very popular, we already hit that space where there was that fear of this is where everybody's it's just gonna be Zynga all the way down,
right? And
Candy Crush and whatever, and we're all gonna be afraid they're gonna take away our video games, and that didn't happen. I agree, it's potentially gonna get smaller, but I don't think it's gonna go away like this way completely.
Like a lot of indies aren't able to. A lot of indie companies would not be able to support the same kind of thing. But then again, a lot of smaller companies got started with making Farmville and whatnot, and then were able to grow as a result. They found a good gameplay loop and could get microtransactions out of it. It's like, so, Supergiant's probably not going to turn around and say, hey, our Hades sequel, our follow-up or whatever, is going to be a microtransaction-laden free-to-play game for whatever. I don't think that's going to happen from that perspective.
And I think in some ways that tendency is somewhat at least counterbalanced by the industry just expanding.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, as somebody who primarily plays single player games, there's been a trend in the industry for the last 10, 15 years that people, MMOs, multiplayer only, live service type games,
and that was another thing people were afraid of happening, that we do have no more single player games.
And it's undeniable that there are a lot of MMO type multiplayer games coming out all the time, and whenever a game is shown off at big conventions or whatever, and I'm like, oh, that looks pretty cool, and then I see that it's a multiplayer game or a MMO type game, I get sad. But on the other hand, there are still lots and lots of great single player games coming out.
We have not hit a point where Pokemon has just gone fully MMO any MMO.
And so the number of MMO type games has gone way up, but the number of games in total has gone way up as well. So maybe we'll be okay.
But we have also lived long enough to see several Pokemon games go free to play with microtransaction. Not even just one, right? We've seen several. Now they haven't.
Several?
Well, yeah, there's been like that 5-on-5 one that you can play. There's the Pokemon Cafe Mix or Cafe Remix, I believe is.
Yeah, they've got like a mobile game division.
Right.
They have an app that helps you brush your teeth.
But like Zynga got bought by Take-Two. King was acquired by Activision Blizzard. Like the thing is,
but
these
mainline
companies,
Pokemon games did not go away.
Right. I'm not saying that we're going to see that happen. It's just that as you bring up the expansion of the market, it's like we're seeing more of this happen, and we're seeing more AAA companies say we want to devote resources to doing this because holy shit, we're seeing a place where this is a payday. Nintendo can't ignore Fire Emblem Heroes, right? They look at that $1 billion and they're like, we know we get a cut of that, obviously. Sure. The Pokemon Go is free to play, and yet that also has microtransactions as a part of it, and it's a big success for Niantic and for the Pokemon Company. It's like, but at the same time, I also acknowledge that when I went to go look at the bundle for reproductive rights that's on itch.io right now, and I see 1,000 games as a part of that, and I'm looking through trying to find anything I recognize, and I'm like, wow, there sure are a lot of games made by people at a very small level that are very small experiences, but a lot of games being made that I'm not interested in playing, but also those exist. People are like, sure. I'm out here making a game, and I'm going to make more games as it comes. I get that.
Sure, Diablo Immortals exists, but they're still working on Diablo 4.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Diablo 4, they know they have to
Immortals
make that thing.
Isn't part of that numbered mainstay thing. Almost every video game company that makes a game that is a spin-off is a spin-off when it's on mobile.
It's going to feel really weird when the
I just don't think we're at that point.
the mobile free-to-play microtransaction-laden spin-off for multiple companies makes more money than everything else that they're making. You know, like the fact that World of Warcraft is making so much money, and that was like you had to buy the game, then you had to buy a subscription to that in the first place. It's like, and that has made Blizzard so much money.
So okay.
So that's
there are lots of free-to-play games.
Yes.
Most of them have microtransactions because that's how you get your money.
yeah.
Yes. There is a substantial amount of full-price games that already have microtransactions in them as well that also still make people money.
True. Yeah, but I guess because I'm thinking of my original point. Kids are playing Fortnite, and they're used to the idea of I got to drop 25 V-bucks on a thing and do something. You know, to be a part of whatever it is my friends are doing, I got to drop some of that, so I'm not a default. Like I got to spend money on this game. This game was free, but I got to spend money on this game for whatever reason, and then you lose track of how much money you're spending over time on this game. And so it's like if that audience, which is the up-and-coming gaming audience, is getting used to the idea of that, oh, well, I download this game for free, but I'm going to need to spend money on it, and that makes sense. It's like, sure, you should spend money on things that people have made because you need to
We've had that
pay them for their
economy
time,
for years, though,
Yeah.
with like Final Fantasy XIV Online and WoW and other MMOs that have that built-in thing of you need to pay monthly in order to keep playing. That's
Yeah.
what live service games
I
are.
just feel like, is there going to be a point in like 20 years' time where a kid goes to play a game and it's like, oh, I want to play that game. It's like, well, that game's $60. It's like, why would that game be $60? You know, like I'm only going to put $5 into it, and it's like, right. Because
people already
you're
do that
used
as
to
well
that.
because many people don't buy games when they first come out. They wait
Yeah.
for the price cuts.
Yeah, I think
Like I just don't.
Yeah.
I think lots of different monetization things. I mean, it's interesting to sort of to look at these different, and I hope that the result is sort of more, the more different types of ways that things can be monetized.
Sure, yeah.
People will come up with different ideas, and yeah, some will still be just a regular game, and some will be whatever. But it's interesting though to see the different amounts of things, and that but
Well-
I hope that the really strongly built single player experiences won't go away.
Part of getting old is feeling like, oh no, I'm losing connection to the thing that I find familiar.
But I
Right,
watch
right.
people who are 12 who do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't think that's
Also-
necessarily an age thing.
And it's like WoW is like 15 years old now. Like it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
WoW, like the idea that this sort of microtransactions and buying in-game currency and stuff is a new idea. Is not.
Yeah.
Anyway,
What story are we moving to?
uh,
I assume we're moving to a new
let's talk
story now.
about an economic thing that is non-controversial:
Oh, okay.
cryptocurrency.
Great.
Oh, Paul.
Okay, no, hear me out. This is actually cool. This is literally the first time I've seen a positive story about cryptocurrency in a video game.
Okay.
I need this explained because I read it and I don't really get it.
So this is fun. So this is about No Man's Sky, which, to be very clear, does not have cryptocurrency in it.
And the company
there are no NFTs in
who's
it.
making it is not the ones making the crypto.
And
Yeah, Hello Games.
Games has not had, has never expressed that they want to add cryptocurrency or NFTs or anything in the game. But there's an interesting thing with the game where, while it isn't an MMO, it does have multiplayer aspects to it. And as the game has been updated over the years, because initially it didn't have any multiplayer aspects, and they've added multiplayer stuff.
Right.
It's gotten more multiplayer aspects to it, and the player base has kind of independently built their own kind of community in the game.
Okay.
Starting and apparently that started with the Galactic Hub, which was basically a bunch of people went to a particular place in No Man's, like a particular area in No Man's Sky,
Said this is the place.
and said this is the Galactic Hub.
Yep.
And
okay.
they basically said anybody can come here. You can join up on our Discord and join
Right,
up
yeah.
whatever, and you can come and visit us.
Makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
But when you get to the end game in No Man's Sky, you have tons and tons and tons of resources,
Yes.
and you have tons of ways of getting resources. And there isn't really anything in the game that is that has a lot of scarcity that isn't quite easy to achieve in some way.
Right.
Okay.
But when you are in the end game and building things, there's reasons why you might not want to do. There's things that have, like, say, building a really cool base, or you can make music in the game. You can have music that plays in the game. So composing
okay.
a music thing.
Okay.
So there's various things that you as a player might want to get another player to do for you.
Sounds a bit like Second Life. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, you things that you want to exchange.
But there's nothing in the game that allows that allows you to say, I will give you this thing if you do this.
there's no bartering.
There's no thing in the game that is tradable and also not just
Oh, so
dupable.
you can't-
like you can
Okay.
trade things.
Okay.
Okay.
But all the things that you can trade are really easy to either acquire
Raw materials.
or they can be duped easily.
Right. So
All
a
right.
finished product, you can't give that to somebody else. It is yours.
So what has happened is they're like, let's come up with a way to basically there's no currency in the game. Let's, as a community, make a currency. So they made this thing called HubCoin,
Okay.
and now it is on it is actually, so it's a crypto coin. It is on a test, one of the test Ethereum chains, which means that it isn't actually connected to the real Ethereum thing. So there's no
Right.
you can't there's no real money, like you can't pull out real money connected to it.
Okay.
And it also is using one of the test chains that has implemented a authority system,
Okay.
which means that rather than proof of work, which uses tons of processor time and stuff,
Right.
this is proof of authority, which is basically, I mean, it's essentially a centralized thing. It's
Yeah.
there's certain people have to say that yes, this is a good coin.
We authorize that this coin is real. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And that's all the work that's required to do
Yeah.
it.
So, and so they're doing that, and then they can trade these coins back and forth between people,
Okay.
and use them as it's this idea. It's like, what is money? And at a fundamental level, it is a way to trade things with, a way
So-
to illustrate a trade. between
Yeah.
people.
I want to just clarify something here. So this hub coin cannot be traded for real money.
Yeah, there's no way to get it out of the game,
Cannot be,
or no way to get it
So-
out into real money.
but you don't put real money in to get it either.
No.
What are you trading to acquire?
So to get it, you
then.
might. It's basically goods and services with things in the game. So either doing something for somebody in the game, like say, composing a song or designing a base. If you've got the PC version of the game, you can make 3D models.
Yeah.
So somebody might want to have like make me a pet, or like a custom pet that I can have in the
and
game,
that's 5 coin.
or whatever.
Okay. Okay, so I make somebody a ship and they give me hub coin.
Right.
Where did they get the hub coin from?
They have some way of there's some way to distribute it, an initial amount, I guess, is they figured something out for that. The point is that they've deliberately made it so that the coins can't be turned into real money, and they're sort of deliberately making the coins worthless in real life.
I mean,
And so
so
the reason why so this is a community-based thing, right?
yeah, I get
so,
that.
So yes, Hello Games could in the game have
Implemented this kind of
implement
thing.
a database where people are trading coins around.
Yeah,
stuff.
it wouldn't have to be any sort of like blockchain based solution.
guess-
It could just be a
But
straight
implementing
up database.
that as players, implementing that kind of a system would be quite difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas this thing, and not only that, but you would have to be relying on one person. Whereas this, there can be quite a few people who have this authority
Yeah.
to do this thing. And that authority already was implicit in the fact that you're all doing this around this Galactic Hub thing. So if you don't trust the people who are running the Galactic Hub thing, you wouldn't be involved in it anyway.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's like the Blizzard auction houses back in the day, where it's like, we have to come up with a value for this thing that you found. We are trading it for currency, but it's like, I have a thing here. It's like, yeah, well then what are people going to pay for it? They're going to pay this much for it. Okay, then you get this much money out of it.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
And so, yeah, people in the chat are being, this is just commerce. This is regular
it is
box
just
standard
commerce.
commerce.
No, I get that.
And that's the point here, right?
Yeah.
This is the point. It happens to be using the cryptocurrency just because that is a way to make a currency that they know they don't have to do a lot of work about how to stop people from, say, duping it, how to stop people from doing that kind of stuff.
I get that. I just don't really, if the currency isn't worth anything, regardless, then why does it matter that I tell someone I will give you some hub coins if you can do this thing for me, and not I will just give you a bunch of materials that we can all find in the game? Because they're both utterly the same value.
But if you don't need the materials, like if I walk up to you and it says, here, I'm gonna give you this empty plastic tray, right? And you're like, okay, I don't need an empty plastic tray for any reason.
Sure, but you don't need a hub coin either.
But you can use that hub coin to then
buy something you actually wanted,
like get somebody else to help you, right? That's
but the only thing I have is this empty plastic tray, and it's like, if you can find a way to convert that empty plastic tray into something that's actual value.
I get how commerce works and everything. I just don't really understand the point of it inside of a video game like this.
It's the idea is making something that people that isn't that actually can have some value in the game, because everything there is nothing in the game that they could point to that couldn't just be copied infinitely easily. Whereas by making these crypto coins, they cannot be copied,
and the other
they can only be generated by the system.
Other idea of it is that because like a currency is an asynchronous method of trade, right?
I watched the video with you about how coins in Japan worked.
Yeah.
I understand that it's like, oh, this thing represents this other thing, and that's how we know.
Yeah.
But it is a more convertible method of which to trade with people, because not everybody has cow's milk to trade for bread or whatever.
Yeah. Or you don't need cow's milk right now. So,
I just don't really understand in a community sense why it has to be a cryptocurrency. Why if this is such a demanded thing, why Hello Games can't do a thing? Why it matters that if the thing has about as much value as some shiny rocks in game that everyone can get, like, why any of that matters?
See, what I think is that at this point, Hello Games could look at this and say, oh, I see what people want, or what a chunk of our audience wants out of this is some method of asynchronous commerce. They want to be able to say, no, there should be money applied to this, and then evaluate, is it worth implementing that or not? Because they might say, no, we want the game to feel like you can trade things with other people and just feel like you're trading stuff, man. Give up the idea of there being a currency. Just trade things when you want to, right? Like, that could be a real thing. Or they might actually say, okay, maybe a currency did actually make sense for this game.
Very hard.
Then they could do it.
I understand. I do agree that, like, out of all of the things I've seen with cryptocurrency, it not being some sort of weird inflatable stocks market thing,
there isn't.
It makes more sense. But again, does that still? I don't know. It just seems like you're still pumping a lot of energy into a thing that doesn't have to be a thing like that.
Do you mean pumping a lot of electricity into a thing? Okay. I didn't know if you meant like mental energy.
The system they're using doesn't use very much electricity at all. They're using a version of the Ethereum thing that is negligible in terms of actual electricity usage, if that makes a difference. The idea here is not that they're only the using cryptocurrency is just because it's a convenient way of doing this.
Yeah.
It could be done in various other ways, and they'd be fine with that as well.
If there are three people living
but there's no infrastructure for that that already
If
exists.
there are 3 people who are at kind of the top of the galactic hub who said we're going to make a relational database and we're going to run it on our own servers, and and then everybody who wants to participate, we're going to let you guys make entries into this database into just a big ledger, right? We have just a big relational ledger that just shows this and just tracks, like a bank would do. A bank just has a big thing saying, here's money in your account. Oh, I see a transaction's come out of your account, and that goes into something. And everyone uses the Galactic Hub Central Bank database to kind of make that happen. You could do it that way too. They just opted to be like, oh, there's already a whole system for managing this, and it's a negligible amount of, and if it really is a negligible amount of energy, I'm kind of like, this is just emergent gameplay on the part of people who want to role play differently.
I'm not against
and I think
emergent
that's
gameplay.
cool. I think it's cool that has happened.
Or community things. I guess in just some way, I'm still suspicious of the fact that anyone could wake up tomorrow and Galactic Hub Coin becomes a marketable thing.
Yeah, so explicitly,
because you have a group of people who've decided this for now.
Right. Explicitly they're making it and not worth any money, and there's no way to it's not actually part of it's using the Ethereum infrastructure, but it's on this called like a test chain thing, so it can't actually be turned into real Ethereum, and they are they're very concerned about it not being turned into real money, and in fact, one of the interesting things they talk about is that they actually explicitly also don't want they're saying that if Hello Games implemented something like this, it would not work.
Yeah.
Because it has to be something that is done by the community.
Interesting.
Because if it's done by Hello Games, then there's an inherent sort of profit motivation to it.
And it is also then making it available to every player in the game. I mean, if you think about the idea of No Man's Sky, where it's on our planet we have thousands of banks and all that, and another race, another entity could fly in and see what we're doing here and being like, so what are you doing? It's like, we have this stuff called money. It's like, we used to have something like that. Yeah, okay, cool. We don't do that anymore. Okay, cool. Well, do you want to come out and hang out and do whatever? It's like, I have no money to pay for things, so you're going to have to pay for me if you want to do that, but otherwise we're just going to take off. So bye, and they fly away. It's like, that sounds like No Man's Sky to me, flying to Galactic Hub and being like, so what's this money stuff? It's like, we do money. It's like, I don't do money anymore. See you, man, and you just take off. It's like, you don't have to participate. And I think that's kind of an interesting idea too.
Yeah, I want to be clear to the chat and whoever's watching this later on YouTube, because I'm sure there'll be comments that are like, oh, Heather doesn't get blockchain or crypto or what the authority method is. I don't. That's why I'm trying to wrap my mind around it. That's why I'm asking questions that probably seem really dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
to be honest.
It's interesting.
Even I know they kind of sound dumb because I don't know what I'm asking.
But it's an interesting idea, this but just basically using the cryptocurrency system as a infrastructure to do their thing.
Yeah. Silver Slip says there's somebody could just say, I will PayPal you $10 for a hub coin. You could do that.
Well, and I've seen people do this in community forums for older Animal Crossing games, where you literally do this kind of thing and people come to your town and do all your gardening.
Yeah, and you pay them real ass dollars to do it.
Which is why, but also I don't play No Man's Sky, which makes that level of obfuscation harder on me as well, because I'm trying to understand a community I'm not part of, a thing that's emerging that I don't really get, and another thing on top of that I don't fully understand, but I'm trying to understand, but I also don't necessarily want to go learn a science degree at the same time.
It's definitely this thing exists, and there's a possibility that people might create a shadow economy underneath it, right? It's like you could, you're right. People were running auction houses with real money. People were doing gold farming on Warcraft. All these things.
Yeah, we have things like that happen.
All that stuff exists.
I'm not saying what's going on here is awful. I think it's interesting. I just don't know if I trust anybody ever again. Ever.
It is all based around trust.
Yeah.
I've played enough werewolf.
Which is interesting. This is because they have the doing it this authority system, proof of authority. It is explicitly built around trust.
Yeah.
And the community as a whole. The people who are in the authority could totally mess up the system and go, ha, we have all the hub coins.
Yeah.
But that doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
And it would destroy this community that they have spent like 4 years building because they enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like there's no real profit motive involved.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
And you can talk about, well, then what if somebody comes along and fools everybody into being like, I'm a part of the community too, and they work really hard and they get into the thing and they get to be made part of the authority thing and they get to do a thing and then they do the rug pull and everyone's like, oh no, and it's like, okay, well then I guess you get to test the resilience of your society that you've built in this video game, whether or not they'll be able to actually move through it. And it's like, yeah, but that might happen, but it might not happen. And
if they're going to do it, they better twirl their evil mustache while they do it. I want that at minimum.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's an interesting implementation, and this idea, and I think there is a fundamental idea of this, like a medium of transact, like, you know, regardless of sort of capitalism or whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
If a system of transaction doesn't exist in a game or in a group,
in a society, yeah,
one emerges
ultimately
naturally.
Yeah.
They talk about like in jails, there's like, you know, cigarettes will become like unit of currency, or ramen packets apparently are a big thing too.
Yeah.
Or different things.
Wasn't that one movie we watched?
Yeah.
Different things, and so.
Oh no! Wait, that was Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but of course, especially especially in a video game world where literally the rules of the fundamental rules of the world are controlled by a company, and they can do whatever they want to it. It's easy for it to be manipulated and messed with, and various bad things can happen.
Yeah.
But it's not fundamentally a bad thing.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that every community will ultimately end up creating a system of goods and exchange, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that will happen, but as you even said, in Animal Crossing New Leaf, that emerged as a means of people doing that kind of thing, right? It can come out, and it's kind of like, is it just
gold farming was also a thing for that game.
Is it the nature of modern humans that we just feel we want to do that?
Well, it's just a convenient thing that just sort of happens, right?
Sometimes I can't tell if there are things we do as humans because we naturally would have come to that conclusion and do that because that does seem like the easier thing, or if because we are already in these systems, so they're the examples that we see, and so we tend to go towards.
I mean, you talked about Japanese coins, like the emergence of a Japanese coinage system and stuff like that. And it's like, I think they were pretty isolated. They wouldn't have been like, oh, I see money because the Europeans did, or the Chinese did, or the Indians did, or whatever, and the Japanese said, let's have money. They might have just said, you know what'd be good? It's just a means of representing this thing, and paper's no good. Oh, but money's good. Like coins are good because it's hard for people to reproduce
a piece of metal that ends up being known as a coin. Sure.
Yeah.
But they came up with coins. Other people came up with essentially what is checks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like, and those are similar systems to be sure, but overall, I do sometimes, not even just within that system specifically, I do wonder if sometimes as human beings we just glom onto things because that's the system we have as an example.
Yeah.
As opposed to that's just actually, it's nurture versus nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? You know what else could be valuable?
What could be valuable, Paul?
Michael Jordan's jersey.
I think it probably is.
Yeah, I guess. I assume there would be a fan or two who would want that.
Why? What happened?
Well,
did he?
If you get NBA 2K23, you can have a picture of it on the cover of the thing.
I feel like that might have less value than what you led me to believe.
There's a rug pull there, but I guess this is the 1 year they'll be able to do it. before we all turn into a singularity and fly away.
Did
It's
something
like,
bad happen to him? He's just in the video game,
No,
right?
it's because it's 23 is his number, so 2023,
Oh, okay.
right?
This is actually the 4th time he's been on the cover.
Yeah, but this is the only year it makes sense to have the 23 on the cover. Is he actually on
the
the cover, or is it
jersey?
just his jersey?
So there are multiple covers.
Oh, fair. Yeah, right. I forgot. That's how games work these days. They're like comic books.
What I like about this is he is like the person on the cover of NBA 2K23.
Sure. Okay.
So they always have like one athlete on the cover.
Yeah.
And
What were his
there's-
stats this year?
There's a joke. Well, there's a joke about it being like a curse, right? That like if you're on the cover of a video game, that you'll do badly that year.
Great. So they're just going to start putting up everybody who's retired. I like this idea.
But anyway, so there's like a version that just has So there's the championship edition, which includes a bunch of other stuff that has his jersey on it.
Yep.
Okay.
But then there's the Michael Jordan edition that actually has like a fancy picture of him on the front.
We're going to show that off to you, I think.
Sure, yeah.
To
we
the
can-
audience, I guess, rather.
I mean, that's pretty cool.
so-
as an art style.
Yeah.
And, and stuff.
I guess the reason why I marked this story as an interesting story was that this is the Michael Jordan edition. It's like this is the champion edition. Still kind of the Michael Jordan edition.
Yeah?
though.
You know what though?
What?
I'm glad they didn't do that thing that like Lay's potato chips was doing, where they like have half his face on the thing, where it's like, oh look, isn't this? Because those were creepy.
Potato
bits.
chips? Did a Michael Jordan potato chip?
No, they did this
random
thing where
people.
they had like the bottom half of people's faces on the chip bag, with
Which
like,
is
Oh,
not
is
the
it?
part
really
that you like.
grinny, big teeth and stuff. And if you get, like, as a flat design, neat idea kind of, but on a potato chip bag sitting on the store, where now you have a bunch of these big toothy smiles
All
just kind of
beside each
crinkle
other, yeah.
it was really
Yeah, all crinkled up slightly.
Yeah, very creepy.
Yep. In different ways.
Incredibly creepy.
So, okay.
I'm just saying they could have had the jersey with him kind of wearing it up to like here on it, and it would have been.
I like the subsequent more like better quality, more expensive editions. He just slowly inches up the.
Oh,
It's like how much of Michael Jordan do you want on your cover?
They need to have a Space Jam edition then. Yeah.
Clearly,
I
yeah.
think that would be good.
Do you think they could NBA 23? That's what the
2K23.
2K23 or whatever these sports games are. They should definitely have a special mode where you play Looney Tunes versus the
Monstars.
I know,
Monstars.
right?
Yeah.
Right, like if they're gonna.
I'm surprised they. Yeah, I don't think they have. I don't think Space Jam. I didn't even know if there's like a Space Jam like.
There was never a Space Jam video
like there
game.
have been. I think there have been Space Jam video games, but I think they were just like side scrollers. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if
They
there's
were,
been
like,
actually like a Space
the
Jam basketball
thing.
game.
Yeah, which kind of should.
Which is
should
why I'm like,
be.
if you're already making a basketball game,
It'd be like NBA Jam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like honestly, I would be. There
know.
might actually like. I feel like maybe I've seen like NBA Jam special characters of Space Jam people.
Yes, I will acknowledge Barkley Shut Up and Jam Gaiden. Excellent game.
no, Shaq Fu.
Hey, I'm curious, chat. Did the NBA retire number 23 like across the entire? Because I know 32 is not retired as a number. Anybody can wear 32, even though it's like Magic Johnson's number.
So
But
if you're 32, does that make you the opposite of Michael?
no,
because
I-
the numbers have been swapped.
well, I mean, Magic Johnson was wearing 32 before Michael even came to the.
So does that make Michael Jordan the opposite of Magic Johnson?
I guess. Yeah, I don't know who's the opposite of
you
Larry
just
Bird,
have
but
to
just
say
Larry
yes
Bird.
to get out of this.
LeBron
I
says
promise.
23.
LeBron's
23.
He's
yeah.
wearing 23. Okay, because I was gonna say I swear I thought there was somebody else who's wearing 23 who's also very good. So yeah.
All right.
I promise
Well-
you, I'm just trying to make a very not interesting joke. And
That's
you
fine.
just need to say yes to get out of it.
Yes, because also the opposite of Larry Bird is Larry Bird.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. To be your own opposite.
The man is an enigma.
That's really cool.
If you've never seen him with a mustache, you'll know exactly what I mean when I say
The
he's an
opposite, the opposite of Larry
Holy
Bird
shit.
is Bird Larry.
Yeah. This is Bird Larry. Barry Lurd? Oh, I like that. That's good.
One place you might be able to play NBA 2K23, don't check that. Don't check my facts on that. Is xCloud, Microsoft's game streaming service.
I thought that was Xbox Game Pass something or other, wasn't it?
Xbox Game Pass is their game subscription
I think you
thing.
download those.
okay.
You don't play those on the cloud.
xCloud is part of Game Pass. When you get Game Pass, you also get to do xCloud stuff.
So this is the
So
service.
not all Game Pass games are available on xCloud.
Okay. But this is like Nvidia's GeForce Now thing, right?
Yeah, this is so you can play it there's a thing for iPad. That
It's
you can
like
play
the
it on.
well-known Google Stadia, the massive
Yeah, exactly.
success. Yes.
There's a thing you can play it on iPad. You can play it on your computer. You can play it in all sorts of different places.
Okay, cool.
You can play it on your computer. You can also play it on Linux, which is cool.
Did not see that coming.
Yeah.
Ever.
It happened a while ago that they allowed it to be played. You could play it on Linux.
Nice. Okay, that's cool.
Unfortunately, people were a little bummed that the quality wasn't as good as they would expect.
On
So,
what?
On
exactly.
Linux.
On Linux.
Huh.
So two computers, or even the same computer, same internet connection, same speed of the computer,
Right.
boots into Linux. It doesn't run as well as when they boot it into Windows,
I wonder why that is.
using Chrome on both.
Should they?
Things.
Oh,
should they
using
not-
Chrome as the browser on both.
Or using equivalent browsers,
Browsers, okay.
on both
Should,
things.
should the experience not be equivalent?
It should be, I would assume.
I didn't
You-
think
one-
Linux and Windows.
One would
be...
hope. One would hope.
Yeah.
And now people have actually figured out that if you are on Linux and you use a plugin to set your user agent in your browser to a Windows user agent,
What?
you get the quality of the Windows version.
Holy shit.
But that means they're.
So they're doing user agent testing and sending a different stream to Linux people.
Holy shit.
Now,
okay.
the
Generous explanation.
The generous
is
explanation is that they're doing user agent testing to look for Android devices.
Okay.
And Android devices actually typically just report themselves as Linux devices.
Yeah, they would.
The actual Android part of the thing is a separate bit.
Right.
So, and mobile devices do get a different stream than
Okay.
desktop devices.
So they think that they're sending the mobile version.
So they're sending it. So they think they're sending it to an Android device. That's what they're. That is one explanation as to why. And so they're not testing well enough for whether it's Linux or whether it's Android. There are easy ways to tell, but maybe they weren't testing it properly.
This makes sense because if I was targeting, I need to ensure that the mobile experience is good, because of all of the Linux devices that are out there, I'm going to guess that the vast majority are actually handheld phones. I'm going to guess that the one...
Well, I mean, if that's what you're aiming for, right?
There's going to be way more Android devices out there than there's going to be actual Linux computers out there.
And the interesting thing is the Mac, on Mac, it works the same as Windows. So Mac is still fine.
Right.
Right. No, I mean, that sounds like a very logical explanation that does seem... I would believe that, yeah.
And now Edge, which is Microsoft's web browser, did actually come out for Linux a little while ago.
Yeah.
And it contains Clarity Boost, which is an Edge exclusive feature.
Sounds like something you say about eye drops.
Which is supposed to help playing Xbox games from the cloud. And if you use
Clarity Boost.
Edge, if you use the Edge browser for Linux on in your Linux thing, it does actually work good.
Does it look the same as what you would get through if you set your user agent to Windows for a different browser? Because if they look identical, I think I know how they're doing it.
Edge doesn't exist for Android, that's true.
Yeah.
But if you're using phones, then...
Don't you guys all have phones?
So the quality thing could be like a roundabout way, like this article is saying that it could be like a way to try to encourage Linux users to switch to the Edge browser on Linux.
Linux
or
people are
maybe it's
pretty-
just a bug in their, in the parsing of their user agent string. They've declined to comment on it, but
Yeah, I mean...
Linux users, like Linux desktop users, are pretty savvy technical people, and if they hear about a thing like this, they'll be like, I'm not changing to Edge if I don't want to use it. I'll just set myself to Windows and do this. Like, you don't see a lot of people rolling a Linux machine to do their gaming on. This is more of a, I have a Linux machine at home, and and I use my Xbox for my gaming, but now I can do it on my PC or my laptop. Really, that's what's happening. It's such a very small chunk of the market.
Yeah. I mean, I assume the only reason it works on Linux is because they developed for Android. And it runs enough on that anyway.
The idea is that the cool thing about it is it just runs in your web browser. So the idea is that like theoretically any device that has a web browser can run it, and play these games.
Probably a modern web browser.
Yeah,
with a certain. Yeah.
All right. In more highly controversial news, Nintendo is teamed up with Cold Stone to make Kirby, Mario, and Animal Crossing ice cream.
Yeah, gonna chow down on some Kirby-shaped ice cream.
I think we even have a Cold Stoning.
We do not. It is U.S. based. We have marble slab.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
It is
I'm pretty sure we
thing.
don't have one in Victoria, but I don't think we
had a marble
one
slab
in Canada.
Yeah, it's down at Bay Center.
Yeah, there's
right?
one in the Bay Center.
Yeah, probably still there.
So you've got Mighty Pink Puff, which is a Kirby-inspired creation that has strawberry ice cream, strawberries, mini marshmallows, and caramel.
Okay, good.
You've got Superstar Sprinkle Blast, which is a Mario Party Superstar inspired by Mario Party Superstars. Has cake batter ice cream, yellow cake, blue frosting, and rainbow sprinkles.
So
I'll pass on that one.
Very cake forward. All right.
You've got Island Getaway, which is the Animal Crossing New Horizons one, which is chocolate ice cream, strawberries, banana, and whipped topping.
Pretty damn boring.
Is it a banana or a banana flavored ice cream?
Bananas, I think, is what you're getting.
Because that just sounds like a modified banana split.
It's what they refer to as Mixin's TM, where it's like
still sounds like a modified banana split.
Little bits of banana, I guess.
That have been mixed in. You're going to have their straight chocolate ice cream. They're going to put their strawberries and their bananas on the slab. They're going to start putting it all together, and they're going to chop it up and sing you a song because it's your birthday and shit. And they're going to put it in a thing and put whipped topping on it and like get the hell out.
Right. Well, okay. Like Kirby clearly wins everything and should be Game of the Year based on the ice cream that they made.
But also this.
Yeah, there's also a special Mario ice cream cake.
Now, I like ice cream cakes. And this looks like what I thought an ice cream cake was, which is literally ice cream and then also cake.
I don't know. It's missing Daisy. I fail.
To be honest, I don't know if I've had an ice cream cake that isn't like a Dairy Queen ice cream cake.
Right? That's what I mean. Right?
Yeah, honestly, that is kind of the only ice cream cake I've ever had.
And those are great. I love those.
Dairy Queen ice cream cakes, and I get the worst digestion after I've had any sort of Dairy Queen whatever at this point, it seems.
I mean, if you're not into, like, if dairy causes you problems, then yeah, that's going to be it.
Dairy Queen ice cream cake is all ice cream. Except for maybe like
the chocolate crunchy bits.
Yeah, the chocolate crunchy bit at the
like,
bottom.
And the
weird,
frosting.
the like fudge stuff.
Sure,
too.
but,
the frosting
it's not ice cream and then cake.
So odd.
Parts
yeah, this
between.
looks like it's actual cake.
There's no cake. Yeah, it's there's no actual like cake bit in that.
No.
Yeah.
I've never had an ice cream cake that has cake.
And then there's
with the ice cream. Though it sounds better to be honest.
But for efficiency's sake, having your ice cream like in slabs on top of your cake means that I have a bite that is perfectly balanced of both cake and ice cream. What about this, Paul?
So these are the different things. To be honest, this like Superstar Sprinkle Blast like ice cream with like bits of cake kind of mixed into it. I mean, I'm kind of like that could be kind of interesting.
Kirby all the way.
I mean, the Kirby one does look pretty good too.
Strawberry, caramel. I can't remember what the other thing was, but I was not objectionable.
It's strawberry ice cream, strawberries, caramel, and mini marshmallows.
That is also fine.
I don't know why I've memorized this because I'm going to be nowhere near a Cold Stone.
I mean, I feel like you could make that yourself if you really wanted to.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
I have a countertop at home. I could just get out some compressed canned air, turn it upside down, just spray the thing down until it's shiny.
To get a really cold
and then just mix my ice cream on the.
Use a bowl.
Then get some chips and get some like jalapenos and some nacho cheese and mix it all on my counter like an influencer.
No, we're not doing any of those.
I'm an influencer. Nope. Time to mix a sundae in my toilet.
Yeah, that's true. The ice cream one was done in the toilet.
Christ.
When did nacho cheese come into this?
Oh, because
There's
the one he's actually
it's a
referencing
video.
for the countertop
My 7-layer dip.
was like a 7-layer dip thing
big
on
can of
on the thing.
beans.
Whereas the ice cream thing was
hands
actually in a toilet that
Yeah.
somebody drained, and then literally after they made this very grotesque looking combination of things without it being in a toilet.
Yeah.
Involving sodas and like Fruit Loops or something.
It's not that it's
they piled it into a glass and they went to go serve people
Yeah.
with it outside, and I immediately friends off.
And I know that the toilet was like this thing had been scrubbed down and disinfected, I'm sure, to be like
I don't
whatever because
care.
it's fun. But I'm like the whole side of let's waste food on the internet. It's like when we've done that, that's always made me pause a bit, but I'm like, okay, I think I can
Okay.
live with it because it's not a lot of food.
Most
but
of
when
the
I see
food-
how much they waste, I'm like, oh, I get more uncomfortable
we
by the
do,
day.
We do end up eating most of the food that's left over.
It's
that is
true.
still
I do
in
end up
good-
eating most
good-
of the food that's left over. You're
Yeah.
right.
It doesn't. Not as much goes to waste as it would look in our own videos.
Yeah. Yeah. Ben did eat that entire pepper that had hot sauce on it, so he didn't waste any of that. I don't think he
Well,
threw up or anything.
I feel like he may
That
have
poor
wasted some of
bastard.
his time afterwards.
Oh, the carrot cake. I
A lot of
ate
carrot
that
cake.
carrot cake.
A lot of carrot cakes got eaten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I ate the one I smashed my face in. I ate
Okay,
that carrot
after
cake.
after we've done some sort of filming with food, I come into the moon base and there's a fridge with random assortments that I'm just allowed to attack.
Yeah.
Except for the butter sculptures. Nobody wanted those.
No, for the longest time. No.
But I think that might have been because everyone had their hands all over it.
Yeah. Me just putting my face in that cake was me just being like, "This, I'm going to eat this later anyway. I know I'm going to." So,
Yeah.
wham.
Beach definitely ate that.
What else we got?
Other Kirby stuff.
Nice.
If you didn't know, it's Kirby's 30th anniversary.
Oh, I gotta show Kirby's feet. I can't wait. See if I
Uh,
can find a picture of his feet.
Here's a controller. Special edition Kirby Pro controller.
Oh, I kind of like that.
It's good.
So it looks pretty cool,
You know, like the star in the middle.
but I gotta say, like, why isn't the controller like a controller that Kirby has eaten and is in mouthful mode on?
Because we saw what the Sonic and Knuckles furry controllers were like, and we knew we didn't need a repeat.
It would be great too, because it would be just like Kirby over the controller, but then like the analog sticks, probably like it would be like if you shrink wrapped the controller, like the analog sticks wouldn't be like fully separated. They'd be just like two bumps.
I have seen a really great phone case cover with Kirby with mouthful mode, where like
Oh, yeah.
the screen is where his mouth is, and he
Right,
can
you
see
just,
his
like, little
face up
feet at
and
the
little
bottom,
feet at the
yeah.
bottom, and
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. I'm not sure I would want that on a control. Maybe some Joy-Cons. Or I guess one Joy-Con. Can I have two Kirbys?
Anyway, this
Yeah,
controller,
you can have two different color Kirby's.
this controller's from Power A,
Yeah, they make good.
and there's also like a switch case.
Ooh, the Switch case is strong with the big Kirby and the pink and the blue like that.
I do
It's-
love how like every case now just comes with an insert for your Switch Lite that you can just throw away.
It's also apparently the collection. It's the Kirby Cute and Dangerous.
Oh,
Cute but
Yeah.
dangerous.
That's perfect. Yeah.
how do I cast images to the screen so we can all look at Kirby's feet?
No.
I'm not gonna tell you.
Thank you, Paul.
I'm being denied.
You can. No. Nope. 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 Nope.
All right.
Show people on your next anime roundup.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll save it for the next time.
Couple. So okay. Couple other stories here. So there's been some info about this particular thing, and there probably isn't. It's probably not worth getting like super upset about it like right now.
Okay,
Just because.
It has to actually succeed first.
Because it's even if what they're saying is going to be true, it is actually going to happen. It's not supposed to come out until 2024.
Oh, yes. I think I know what you're talking about.
What I'm talking about is Polium, which is a company that is making the first NFT console.
I thought the The Amico was supposed to have like NFT games that like went on chits
But
or
never
something.
arrived, did it?
Well,
so
I know
now
it's still like
Polium gets to be.
who knows, and
yeah.
probably not happening.
Is
but
Polium the singular of polio? Is that what?
A single Polium, and
Yeah.
then you have multiple Polios.
Multiple polio? Is that how this is? It's a
Sure.
I thought it was polonium when I first saw it, which is a whole different thing.
Sure.
Anyway,
isn't the controversy on this not about the NFTs but about something else?
well, yeah.
Well.
So okay. So for one thing, so Polonium 1 or Polium 1 is it's a multi-chain NFT console.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have
I have to-
NFTs
do I have to
from
chain-
all the different NFT systems.
Do I have to chain a bunch of consoles together?
Probably, and then
You
like
would've-
wear them around your neck.
Before you would have had to, but now this is the first multi-chain console. You only need the one.
You have to wear them. You know, like in A Christmas Story, like when you die, the chains you forged in life, you have to wear as a
Yeah.
ghost.
Like, I understand,
That's kind of how that works. I
Holy
think.
crap.
I understand drip is a big deal, but that just seems real heavy.
But the other thing about it, which is probably just as well that they aren't actually supposed to be launching until 2024, because they're having some issues with their logo, because their logo was let's see if there's a good
That's probably pretty
That-
good.
that-
Yeah.
a good
that's probably
version-
good.
Yeah.
a good
version of
illustration
exactly-
of their thing here. So
Check out this high-quality logo.
This
this is what their logo looks like,
Yeah.
and lots of people are like, "Hey guys, that kind of looks familiar," and then I think people have made like, "Oh look,
What do
I
you
can
mean?
rotate this
Huh.
and then I fill that in, and then I fill that. Oh, whoops, whoops, we did a copyright.
How about that?
As other people, so
There are
not really in their defense, but people have pointed out that there are lots of other people who have similar logos.
yes.
So it's weird to be like, in their defense, it's just not a very creative logo.
Yeah, there's actually like there's 2 or 3 different companies that use P as their starting name that did exactly the Polium logo, including P-Cube, which is apparently a fairly well-known Minecraft server.
Yeah.
Yeah, Minecraft server providing services. Like, people will know in the gaming space about this particular look. So
And you can see like on their Twitter now,
Oh, they've changed it.
it looks
sure
like
have.
they've changed it already.
Yep.
They stuck a brick in the middle of
Yeah.
it.
Don't worry, this console
Oh, here we go.
is
Yeah,
the-
out with the old and with the new.
Yeah, don't this console. Don't worry, because if
Yeah.
you're concerned about having trouble working with all the NFTs, this console has a controller that has a dedicated wallet button, which is a thing that I'm sure every other company is like, oh shit, I wish we'd put a wallet button on everyone else's controller so we could just have direct access to their wallets all the time.
Would not set that up
So
ever.
it's yeah, I mean, it's like one of these things where it's like, this is the like, I feel like the controversy about on this being about the logo is just because like this is 2024,
Yeah.
it's supposed to be coming out, and we're all kind of, the chances of this actually becoming a real thing that people can like buy and
Yeah.
use is kind of small at this point.
Definitely
to be
one of
honest.
those things where it's like, we announced this because we're hoping that things will come. Like, they say, what are you going to be able to play on this thing? It's like Web3 games. It's like, what are you going to be able to play on this? It's like, well, games that are Web3. What are you going to be
Great.
able to play on
It's
this?
like-
Some of them will be exclusive.
It's like great. So, what are Web3 games?
Yeah. Well, there's games that are on the block. No, what are the games we can play on your console?
What does Web3 mean?
There's a great
It's the
great
third version
line.
of the web, right?
There's a line in their FAQ that says, right now, most games on the blockchain aren't fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, you just are trying to promote your console by saying
It's like,
most
but
of the games
we're-
that we'll have won't be fun.
We're optimistic though that sometime in the next 2 years a fun game is going to come out, and then we're going to be like right in there.
It's not our responsibility to make that shit happen, but
That
great
does
marketing.
seem like not like a thing you would want to.
Buy? back?
Exist?
Just wouldn't expect someone to say, by the way, the games that you can play on this kind of thing aren't fun.
Yeah,
It's like, okay.
but it does have a wallet button.
Like,
I mean, giving up money is not fun.
are they going, like, 100%, if they haven't already, and I haven't looked into it, maybe they have, like, 100%, they're going to release a...
Raspberry Pi in a box.
No, they're going to, no, but,
Okay.
like, for their funding system for this, they're
Yeah.
going to release, like, a specialty, like, crypto coin.
Oh yeah,
And,
absolutely.
like, get in on the ground floor on P coins or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
There'll be
I
some
do think they are full of shit,
And
so
then
they should call them P-coins.
Holocoin.
Anyway, speaking of people creating a bunch of things that are worth money, maybe, the Pokemon Company is, they're the ones who are in charge of the Pokemon card game, obviously. Well, not that obviously, actually. It used to be Hasbro, not anymore. Not for a long time. But anyway, we've done a couple stories about it on CheckPoint and stuff over the past couple of years, especially since the pandemic locked in all this stuff. Prices for Pokemon cards have gone all kind of wonky. Some cards have gone for ridiculously huge
Right.
cost.
Yes. Exactly.
Some of the foil
Charizards.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
we could have all said it
I don't know. Sometimes I blame
Pikachu.
YouTubers for that.
Well, yeah. I mean, there has been this thing with like,
Since they're the ones doing the spending.
and there's been this thing with like people buying up giant pallets full of
They're bulk purchasing. Yeah.
Pokemon cards, and so the people who are, the kids who are playing, who the game is directed towards,
Right.
can't get the cards.
Well, Paul, then how will I take up Pokemon on cards if I cannot get any cards?
well, you're in luck
Am I?
because you're probably okay for getting cards these days. Over the last year or so, the Pokemon Company has printed 9 billion Pokemon cards.
That's a big collection.
Basically,
I didn't know there were that many Pokemon.
in the last, I believe in the last 2 years, a third of all Pokemon cards ever printed have been printed.
Jesus.
It's something.
Yeah, I really like the title of this.
A quarter of all Pokemon cards.
The headline for the story that says that the Pokemon Company combats card shortages by printing 9 billion cards, because it sounds opposite.
It's like, we'll show you.
Yeah.
Wait, you can't make any more cards, so we made all the cards.
So
What?
I'm trying. This is funny for two reasons, because the number just makes it funny. So it's funny because they printed. In the last year they printed 1/4 of all cards ever. Like, holy shit! Like, for how long Pokemon has been out as a trading card game, 1/4 of the cards were just printed in the last year. But also, holy shit! That means there's 9 times 4, 36 billion Pokemon cards on the planet.
I mean, some of those definitely ended up in the trash somewhere.
Sure, but it's like, and
That's a lot of pieces of cardboard.
it is, and maybe with plastic. And do they put plastic in between them?
Couldn't tell you.
I don't know how Pokemon cards are.
I barely knew that
So-
about Magic.
What I find interesting about this is, obviously, as we know a lot about Magic cards and how they do, and what's interesting about this is because the Pokemon Company and Hasbro / Wizards of the Coast, they have very different. They're coming at the card world from very different places,
Right.
And they have different motivations for stuff, right? So, for the Pokemon Company, they're just like, they don't care about what the cards are worth.
Right.
They're just like, we want more people playing this game because people playing this game then translates into people buying the video games, which translates into people, like
Or any of the other things
They've
that
got
they
this
make, yeah.
whole pipeline of like, if you can get people into the game, into the card game, the more people are in the card game, the more people are
Right.
into all the other Pokemon stuff.
Right, because
So-
you learn the things. And
So the
you-
card game, whereas for something like Magic, the card game is the thing, and so like the Pokemon Company explicitly, like, they're basically deliberately tanking the value of their cards because they don't care.
Yeah, that was never the point.
Yeah. They don't care what the secondary market is.
Right.
And they don't care about collectors, and they don't care about anything except people who...
We just want people to play the game.
We just want people to play the game.
Yeah.
And
so you have to make the cards
and we don't
accessible
even
for
really
that.
care about, like, making money off selling the cards. We just... The more people who are in the Pokemon sort of world, the more means that they can buy all these other things that are part of the Pokemon world.
Right.
And so it's like, I don't know, I'm assuming the game isn't like a lost leader, but they basically don't have to, like, that's not what the objective of the game
It
is.
might have very thin margins.
The idea is fun.
Yeah.
You know, and so to them it's like it's more fun if more people can play the game. So print more cards.
And whereas, with Magic, they have to actually make money, making money off the cards is the point of the cards.
Yeah, and part of encouraging people to be a part of that is acknowledging that there will be cards that will have a certain rarity level, and therefore they will be, let's ignore the secondary market, but they will be perceived as being more valuable, and so people will want to buy more cards because they'll want to have cards that are more valuable and more powerful. And therefore that in itself has value to being like, this is reasons for you to buy more cards.
And yeah, I mean, Pokemon does have rarities of cards.
Yeah.
Different amounts, but they have at various times in the sort of lineage of Pokemon cards, they have explicitly reprinted, like, if there's a card that is really powerful in the game, they'll just print a whole bunch of it.
Right.
There's nothing like the Magic reserved list where there's certain cards where WotC will never print because they can't for collector reasons.
Maybe Pokemon should just go back to basics. Release all the cards out into the wild and make everybody find them with Pokeballs.
I mean,
just like drop them from a plane.
Yeah.
To be honest, if you could probably cover part of the planet fairly well with 36 billion cards. So
Yeah, that might be like...
That's basically how Pokemon seems to work.
Yeah. I like, somebody in chat said, not accounting for stuff that's been thrown away, that means every adult on Earth owns between 4 and 5 Pokemon cards. And I'm like, that can't be. I think I have one in my in my cubby, actually. Oh shit! I think you might be right.
I have 2 Pokemon cards. One would have been game legit at some point, I'm sure, and the other one is just kind of an image card, as it came with a sticker. It's of a Butterfree.
There's
it's shiny.
Some never contacted tribe in whatever
Papua New Guinea.
Yeah, South America or whatever.
Is learning to
has
play
like some random Pokemon cards. Yeah,
yeah. They're learning to play for the first time. They're like, this is
like
interesting.
they're playing it wrong.
I played Yu-Gi-Oh!
They don't know
when it first came out,
they
and I
don't
don't
know
have
what
any of those.
Yeah.
They don't know what the meta is, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so I thought that was it. I mean, obviously that's sort of only tangentially video game related, but I thought that was interesting. Where it's just like, what a company, companies can be like, when a company sort of comes at something with a different
Intention?
a different sort of profit motivation, right?
Yeah.
That it's like that's not where we're making our money, so we can just do this.
Yeah, I watched an ad show up today. That was, I don't know who the person was supposed to be, but they clearly were collaborating with Pokemon. And all it was them putting on a pair of like these really nice looking Pikachu sweatpant types things and taking their dog for a walk and being like, Pokemon clothes are real comfy. And I'm like, that does look pretty comfy.
It's like, that just looks comfy. That's aside for the Pokemon thing, that just looks comfy.
It's some of their merch is like the kind of merch you want out of as an adult fan, where it doesn't just have the logo on everything in 6 different.
I mean, we've shown some pretty
configurations,
we've shown some pretty awesome Pokemon specialty merch at various times. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they do a good job of that.
Anyway, that is news. We spent more time talking about some silly things than we usually do. So it was a long episode, but that's okay.
We hope you enjoyed it.
Hope you enjoyed it. Sorry if we didn't talk about whatever particular story you thought we should have. or if we got everything wrong about a story that you knew more about
Just
it than
get
we
out
did.
your hand puppets and make us say what you want us to say, I guess.
No, I do not give my authority for that likeness infringement that Beach has said you should do. If you want to do something, you can leave a comment in the YouTube comments about, I don't know,
Or oh, okay. I don't know about what was your first real toy that you liked playing with as a child?
I was going to say what Pokemon card you have.
Oh, that's good too. I like that
But,
better.
you know, I mean, you figure
We've
it out.
established that everybody has
There's
Pokemon,
Pokemon cards. Yeah. So what was the first Pokemon card you ran into? That's a
Yeah.
good one. You can also just go leave a super thanks on some of our videos if you want to on YouTube.
That's on the
Main channel?
and the Lure MTG channel have that in place. I think that's in beta, so I don't know if we can put it on everything.
Fair enough.
But it's a thing you can do.
You can also back us on Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun, and check out the store if you like buying merchandise such as the CheckPoint portable hole. It is on store.loadingreadyrun.com along with a bunch of other stuff that we make.
So, thank you everybody from Paul and Heather and Beige. Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next week.